Hey there, this is Natalie, and it's time for some more interesting stories from the depths of Reddit. Please gently caress the subscribe button for more Reddit videos to relax to, with, I promise you, no AI voices ever. This story originally came from r/trueoffmychest and was posted by a throwaway account. And it's titled, "My husband just left me because he's been hit on by a woman for the first time in his life." And OP begins, "God, I'm so angry at, I don't know, everything right now. And this feels so effed up, I don't even want to talk to my BFF about this right now. It just hurts too much at the moment. My husband just told me he's leaving me, and I can't believe the reason. I need to give some background. I'm 34 female and my husband is 38 male. We've been married for almost 2 years, have dated 2 years before that, so overall a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself, even though he has a great personality, or so I thought, is generous, caring, can express his emotions and all that stuff. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he'd only been in 2 relationships in his life, both 5+ years long though. He's told me it's because he's shy and ugly and women don't really want anything from him, like ever, especially not good-looking ones. I'm fairly conventionally attractive and he's kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman, and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time, etc. I really was fearing for some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet, plus I don't want to look easy. But it turns out that no, he's a really sweet guy and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome or so, and frankly, I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away quickly. Once we started thoroughly dating, things went fast, because it was all so wonderful. Well, apparently, a while ago he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by, and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He's shown me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I'm so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. He didn't tell me much about what they talked about, just that she was very friendly and they exchanged numbers and started texting more and more often. He says she at some point openly started pursuing him even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and can't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realised that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally has never happened in his life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that, and that being attractive has its own problems. But he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him too. He swears he's only met her one more time for lunch after the first encounter, and he thinks it's not an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her because, as he put it, "This is the first woman who's genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass." Or something along those lines. My memory's a bit hazy. The 3 months refers to the time it took him to get a date with me, by the way. And that is why he says he's breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating, and he doesn't want to cheat on me, so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I'm also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I give him a hard time? If I'd said what I wanted back then, if I'd pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt if a woman does that, she shows she's easy, and I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way. And now it's biting me in the butt. And I, of course, am very mad at him, but he didn't even cheat on me. He He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. I kind of wish he actually had cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice. I know I'm screwed." And OP edited to add, "Holy F, this blew up so much. First, thank you all so much for your comments. This is much appreciated. And also, some of you really made me think. I still feel this was unwarranted, and if he was so unhappy, he should have told me. But I guess I wasn't as good of a wife as I thought. I really didn't show him that I love him and why, and didn't put in much effort. And someone said he was starving for attention, and I guess that's my fault in a way. Still, I think just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to get the courage to talk to my BFF, and we'll meet later so I can tell her everything, and she spontaneously will take me out for a spa weekend. I hope I can get my head clear there. I was so scared, but she was not at all condescending. She's the best. I feel like I couldn't have mustered up the courage for that were it not for all your support, so thank you all so much, even the critical ones." Wow, this has got to be so difficult for OP. I mean, the husband seems kind of immature to be willing to throw away their whole relationship just because somebody else is paying him a bit of attention. And that does suggest that there were probably other things going on, at least with him, that maybe she wasn't aware of. I know men do have it harder when it comes to approaching people and fearing rejection, but for it to be so extreme that the first time someone actually hits on you, it becomes this opportunity you can't afford to pass up even though you're already married, it kind of seems strange that it would get to that point for somebody. I don't know, men in the comments, let me know if this is a story you can kind of relate to or not. Still, OP did get a lot of comments on this on Reddit, and a few of them were picked out on the Best of Redditor Updates subreddit, which I'm getting this story from, so let's have a look at some of those. A commenter said, "Does he look like he has money? Nice clothes, fancy watch, expensive car, etc. Definitely getting some potential gold digger vibes here." But OP replies, "Apparently she has a job and a house. We don't have a house, we rent." Commenter says, "That's just bananas. I thought I was insecure, but he takes the cake. Crazy town. Feels like you dodged a bullet. Imagine him pulling this nonsense after 10 years of marriage and 3 kids. I'm so sorry, but I don't think there's anything you could have done differently to have a different outcome. He'll always be insecure, and this experience will give him validation for a bit, and then he'll continue looking for it outside of himself." OP says, "I don't know. It makes me feel like it's my fault for playing hard to get back then, even though I liked him. But I mean, we're always told it's better not to give your defense up too easily with guys, and now it's biting me in the butt." A commenter says, "Just because it wasn't physical or even emotional, which I think it was no matter what your husband says, he still cheated on you by accepting this woman's number and going out to eat with her without telling you." OP says, "Yeah, exchanging numbers, that makes me mad. But he said, I have guy friends I met at parties or events, and he's never complained about that. And that is right. Then again, I never flirted with any of them. I would never do that while I'm in a serious relationship." Another commenter said, as part of a very long comment, "I'm not saying this is your situation, but given how little you showed interest in him and made him do all the work to start the relationship, my guess is that the dynamic hasn't changed much, and you still expected the relationship to be mostly one way. You may not realise that dynamic because of social norms and modern dating expectations, but let me let you in on a secret. Men want to be wanted every single bit as much as women, and it's absolutely unfair to believe that they shouldn't be shown that much love if they're willing to give it. I wish you luck." OP says, "I guess, yeah, I sort of see myself as the prize, but he was always okay with this. I mean, it's not like I don't tell him I love him or things like that. I guess I could show my affection more, yeah, but I don't feel like that's necessary. I mean, he should know, right? I married him after all." Another commenter says, "I'm in no way trying to justify this or say that someone is wrong or right, but it really is sad as hell that men, lots of men, are so stomped on by society at large that a compliment is enough for one to say, 'Screw this marriage, someone else wants to treat me better.'" OP replies, "Well, I never really thought about it like that. I mean, I'm used to getting lots of attention, and frankly, most of the time it's just annoying. I don't want to be hit on all the time, but I guess I never thought about how it is when you never had that. I mean, I married him. I thought that must count for something. OP then later made a mini update in the comments 3 days after the original post. She says, "If I post this as a comment, will you people see this as an update? I don't know. Anyway, just a short notice. I've texted my husband telling him I wish to meet up with him and talk about this. I've told him I love him and don't understand where this is suddenly coming from, and that I think I deserve to at least have an earnest conversation about it. I haven't got an answer yet." And someone replies asking, "Have you taken anything to heart that anyone who isn't fully bashing your husband has said? You've emotionally deprived this man. He's felt unappreciated in this marriage with a wife who regularly gives her number to randoms, who doesn't think she has to do anything nice for him because that's the man's job, and who doesn't tell him that he's handsome or that she's attracted to him because she's honest. If you still don't understand how you've been damaging and driving your husband away, then there's no point in talking to him about this thing, as you put it. He's not going to come crawling back to you after you've made him feel unwanted for who knows how long." OP replies, "I have taken it to heart, which is why I want to talk to him. He never expressed these things to me." Then there's another mini update in the comments 2 days on, and then we'll go into the final big update. So OP said, "Just as a quick update, my husband has finally replied and agreed to meet with me today in the afternoon. I thought it was better to choose a public place, so we'll meet at a cafe in town. I'm scared." And here's the update on how that went, which came 5 days from the original post. She says, "A couple of days ago, I posted in r/true off my chest about my husband suddenly leaving me because of, well, having experienced for the first time that a woman actually showed active interest in him. Since links are not allowed in this subreddit, please check my profile for my post history. Yesterday, my husband and I met for the first time since he upped and left last Friday. And frankly, after the meetup, I was very shaken, so it took me until today to be able to write about this. Since so many people have reached out to me with helpful comments and all, I think you deserve an update, but I really wasn't up to it yesterday. Also, this is really long, so sorry in advance. There's just so much to cope with." So here we go. The situation felt very awkward, and I got the impression the whole time that he genuinely feels sorry for how things were, and that what he's doing hurts me. I know many of you said he's a douche, a cheater and whatnot, and I really, really understand you, and I'm mad at him myself, but on the other hand, you all don't know him like I do. He's a very honest person. He despises lying, and he's really bad at it. He carries his heart on his tongue, and I know him well enough to sense his feelings. Did that help me? Not much. Now, even if I wished, I couldn't paraphrase our talk, and I'm sure I'll miss certain things, and overall, it was a mixture of him telling me and asking questions, and it's all a big flurry in my head. So I'll just summarise, I guess. First, he told me that he really, really loved me, and he still does, but he feels like his feelings for the new woman are stronger. He told me her name. Let's call her Jasmine, not her real name. He admits Jasmine is gorgeous, but claimed that that on its own was in no ways relevant for his decision. Yeah, right. He told me that she originally approached him because of a book he was reading during lunch. Supposedly, the book's author is her uncle, and she was able to tell my husband some funny stories about the time her uncle drafted that book. He says he and Jasmine have very similar interests. Jasmine also reads sci-fi as he does because of said uncle who's a sci-fi author, and they both like gaming and stuff. He said after they exchanged numbers, they initially only wrote about stuff like that, and later on they talked about other hobbies and interests and found more and more common ground, as he put it. He also admitted that like 2 weeks or so ago, he started to wonder if he should actively tell me about her, seeing how she turned from an acquaintance to what he deems a friend. I interjected that they don't know each other long enough to consider her a friend, but he says he feels Jasmine is really genuine with him. This is a man who cannot pick up social cues unless they're spelled out for him, but whatever. He also feels a lot more in tune with Jasmine than he does with me. Admittedly, We seem to have less common interests, but I never felt like I have to be exactly like my partner. Opposites can complement each other well, and I always felt we do. Well, looks like he feels much happier with someone catering to his interests a lot more. He also became a bit self-critical then. He says after he left for his friend's place, he sat down and reread his conversation history with Jasmine, and he realised that she had indeed been flirting with him before she told him she wanted more. It didn't start out flirtatious, but he admits he totally missed that. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the beginning, and then when she started flirting. He might have tuned the messages, but at least the beginnings really read friendly. The flirtatious parts, however, were blatantly obvious in my eyes. But he actually blames himself for that, and says that while that doesn't change his feelings for her, it means he should have noticed this earlier and, well, he said, made the decision to pursue her earlier. That sort of broke me, and I started sobbing, because it sounds as if I never had a chance compared to Jasmine. He even wanted to console me, and I allowed that for a couple of minutes, but then I sought some distance again. It felt good and bad to be in his arms. Then it was time to ask me why she's so attractive to him that he leaves me, his wife, just for the mere possibility of being with another woman. I mentioned that someone, I didn't say Reddit, suggested she might be a scam, or just interested in breaking up marriages and going after men who are taken and such. He, of course, vehemently denied that. Supposedly they met last Sunday to go out for dinner, and they talked about the fact that she approached him even though he's married, and she claims to have a really bad conscience about this, and that she would never have done it had she not felt such a deep connection between them, blah blah blah. I must admit I really struggled through that part, because if it is true, it hurts me, and if it isn't, it hurts me even more that he falls for BS. He then told me in excruciating detail about his dating life, and how long he was a virgin, and how he was always treated by girls back in middle school and high school, and by the women in college and later on, how he really feels that he always has to be the one initiating, fighting even for a chance, and felt like he was always treated as unworthy by almost all women, and how that made him bitter. He admitted that. But also how he always thought that someone who truly fits him, fits his personality, his character, his being, would be someone who would not make him jump through hoops. Someone who'd outright tell him she's intrigued by him and wants him. He says he loves me dearly and was always very grateful for being with me, but that even with me, he always felt somewhere between a beggar and the subject of a pity party, where I bestowed the grace of my companionship onto him instead of actually liking and wanting him. When I asked him whether that means he settled for me, he vehemently denied that. He said when we started to date, I really treated him better than any woman ever had done before, so he really thought this was what he'd been looking for. And before meeting Jasmine, he never felt like he needed more. I, of course, tried to tell him that I'm not with him out of pity or anything, and I explained why I made him wait 3 months, and why I think the man should court the woman and so forth. And then I also admitted that I might not have given him the appreciation he deserved. This time, it was his turn to drop tears for a bit. He said hearing that made him both grateful and unhappy that he never really communicated better about this. I told him that hearing him say that feels like he's putting the blame on me, and I swear to God, his eyes like doubled their size, and he looked genuinely shocked, and he apologised many times and said he did not want me to think that he actually has any bad feelings about having to wait back then, and that this is a situation where no one is to blame, but especially not me. He said I've been a wonderful wife and all, but that with Jasmine, it just feels different and like a deeper connection than the two of us have, and that while he thought I was wonderful, he now realised that what he was looking for in life was something else. So he says reconciliation is not really an option because he realised that we're not right for each other, and even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he actually needs something that I just am not. I mentioned marriage counselling, and he said it's not like our marriage has issues, but that the issue is that we're just not right for each other. There were more things we said, and maybe I'll add some later, but right now I'm too mentally exhausted, especially because I still don't feel like I can hate him, because he felt so freaking honest. I think he at least truly believes all the things he said, but that woman might still be a total liar or a scam. He at least promised to be careful with her financials wise, but he assured me that she's not that. I don't know what to make of any of this. It hurts. I guess my marriage is over. Oh, now this is a really sad story. But it does kind of seem like they were a couple of that type you get where it seems like they like each other, they're both people who are pleasant to be around, and, they're both a level of attractiveness where you can kind of see why they're interested in each other. But then there's the issue of, when you see those couples, you can't really imagine what they actually talk about when they're alone together. I'm not saying that couples need to have all the same interests or anything like that, but to me it's kind of, you spend so much time with that person that if you don't at least find their interests fun to talk about, even if you don't follow them yourself, you're not down for doing things like maybe reading a book that they liked so that you can discuss it with them. You probably just end up only ever talking about, day-to-day stuff and people and things that don't really end up being that fulfilling in terms of having a connection together. So I can kind of see why, even though there was nothing particularly wrong with the marriage, he felt that lack of compatibility between them once he started spending time with someone he did have more in common with, combined with realising that, he didn't have to maybe work as hard as he thought to get attention from women. It's extremely sad for the wife. And I'm not trying to justify this Jasmine pursuing this guy when he's married, but I can see why this story sort of shows that there's a bit more to compatibility than just finding someone who's pleasant to be around, isn't mean to you, and looks good. I can also see that once someone's decided that they're just not right together, things like marriage counselling aren't going to make any difference. It's not like she needs to change her behaviour or anything. He's just kind of decided that being in a relationship with her isn't necessarily how he wants his life to be anymore. Not because of her behaviour or anything, but just because of their different personalities and interests. And it's really sad after 4 years that he could just walk away like that. But I think maybe quite a lot of relationships end this way for similar reasons. I don't think it's as much about the man's insecurity as it seemed from the original post, but more about sort of growing up and realising you have different options to what you previously might have thought you had, and that what you want might actually be slightly different to the marriage you can have with the first person who's kind to you, But as you might expect, there were plenty of comments on this one. So a commenter said, "Your soon-to-be ex and his side piece suck. Instead of just walking out of the marriage, he should have talked to you in order to see if you could work things out. He's a coward for just leaving at the first sign of a woman showing interest. The side piece sucks because she knowingly flirted with a married man and pushed a relationship. Their relationship, if it gets that far, will probably implode. Hopefully, you'll be on to a much better relationship." OP says, "I'm so torn. On one hand, like you say, if he'd talked to me, I would have given him more attention and acknowledgement, I think." And a commenter replies, "I think should have been doing that anyway, him being your spouse and all." OP says, "You're right." The commenter replies, "Here's the thing though, how can he know in a few weeks if it's a real connection or if he just likes the ego boost?" OP replies, "I know, but then again, wouldn't indulging in it for months without telling me be cheating? Because he hates cheaters and has sworn to never become one himself." Another commenter says, "How in the hell can he say that no one is to blame? He's leaving you for another woman. He is absolutely to blame." OP says, "Well, he says he just realised we're not meant to be together since we don't fit. And I mean, I have had relationships where I actually realised we didn't click, and well, then you split up. That's what he thinks is the case here. It just doesn't feel like it to me. But then again, I don't have a new guy already." And then a final commenter says, "You sound so much smarter, more mature and non-bitter compared to the average visitor to this subreddit. Please don't take any advice from here. It's a cesspool of bitter people you wouldn't like to have contact with in real life." OP says, "Oh, I definitely do not feel smart." Thank you so much for watching or listening today. Please let me know what you think about today's stories in the comments, and I hope to see you again next time.